Welcome to the Fall 2020 Ladies Big Book Study Recording Series. My name is Kimberly and I am a recovered alcoholic. I am the facilitator of a tri-weekly Big Book Study for ladies only, and we record each session so we can share the knowledge along with you. What we do is we read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line. We pause on each page and have discussion time to share our experience, our strength, and our hope on each page. You are more than welcome to follow along in this series and do the work of the steps of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you do need support at any time, please reach out to me in the Contact Us area of my YouTube channel, and we're happy to provide you with support. The online recordings are open to men and women. Do not be discouraged, gentlemen. Our ladies' point of view may offer you a different perspective. So welcome. I hope you enjoy. All right, ladies, we are continuing on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are on page 69, midway down. We've just finished writing out our sex conduct inventory, and so we carry on. In this way, we tried to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjected each relation to this test. Was it selfish or not? We asked God to mold our ideals and help us live up to them. We remembered always that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised and loathed. So this is actually my favorite task, my favorite action in the Big Book. So what we've already done is we already added that was it selfish or not to the questions we asked last time. And so now we're going to move on because we've seen our selfish tendencies, and we want to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. Now, this is a meditation. It's also a little bit of two-way prayer. So two-way prayer was invented by the Oxford group. There's lots of great research that you can do on Google about it. I got put onto it by my service sponsor. And so two-way prayer is a little bit of what this meditation is like. So we are trying to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We asked God to mold our ideals and help us live up to them. We remembered that our sex powers were God-given. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a meditation on what our ideal sex life looks like. Not our Santa Claus fairy tale wish list of an ideal partner, tall, dark, handsome, built like a brick shit house. You know, that's your fantasy sex thing. Let that go. We're looking for ideal sex life. So what does your ideal relationship for? And this is where the two-way prayer kind of comes in. So we write down ideal relationship. This is what I'm looking for. What does my ideal relationship look like? And then I put it down. And this is the meditation part where we think of what our ideal relationship would look like. And we write down all the qualities we come up with. So I'll read you mine. Because you already know my Santa Claus list: tall, dark, handsome, built like a brick shit house. Well, you know what that gets me? Misery. So we go for the ideal relationship. And what does it look like? God-centered, service-based, fun and adventurous, supportive and understanding, open and accepting, honest and trustworthy, communicative, faithful and loyal, safe, challenged, driven, and motivated. That's my ideal relationship. So what does the second part tell us? Help us to live up to them. So where I've gone wrong in the past is I've had my fairy tale Santa Claus list of things that I wanted, and that person had a lot of these things. I want my guy to be honest. I want him to be trustworthy. I want him to be driven. But I wasn't those things. So when we find our ideal, we now ask God to help us live up to these. So before I can be in this ideal relationship, I need to bring all of these things to the table. Game changer. You can take this and become a dating coach. Get people doing this crap. You can make money off that. I don't recommend it. I'm just speaking out loud. But this is a game changer. When I did this, dating changed. Number one, I wasn't desperate. Number one, I wasn't trying to be validated. So I wasn't rushing. I was like, okay, I have my God ideals for my relationship. Do I meet all of these? Yes, I'm ready to date. No, I'm not ready to date. I need to keep working on myself. We'll get to how to do that in a minute. And then I have to find someone. So when I find someone, keep in mind, recommendation here, the first 6 months you're courting. This is a new word for most of us in Alcoholics Anonymous because we're used to dating. We start courting. So courting is when you're finding out if this person you're interested in meets all of these ideals. If they do, then you can start dating with intention. That is, I am interested in you. I've gotten to know you. I want to get to know you more. This is about a 6-month process. Then after about 6 months, you see someone's true colors and you can determine if they really meet up to these. See, because I met someone, I thought they lived up to all of these, and I courted and dated as suggested by my sponsor. And slowly but surely, around the 6 months mark, cracks showed up. And I went, ooh, is that a red flag or is that not a red flag? And I was able to investigate them and determine that, yes, this person was not meeting my ideals for my relationship. And I was able to part with them in a loving and respectful way. Major difference from how I used to do it, right? I'd start painting them red flags green. I'd start justifying stuff. I'd start lowering my ideals based through God. And then what would happen? I'd be dating a narcissist that controlled my life and treated me like garbage. And I would be miserable. And what happens? My self-esteem suffers. My security suffers. My personal relationship suffers. Does this sound familiar? Okay. So this is the meditation for an ideal relationship. I also like to do this for parenting, for business. So I just changed the title and I look for what my God ideals are for being a parent, for being a business owner. And guess what? Life got real easy and it got real good. Leslie.
Morning, Leslie Alcoholic. So if you have, if you're in a relationship which is totally opposite to part 2, and or you have a friend, let's say, okay, my brother, who is just going into a relationship. So the things that I could suggest to him would be, is this person meeting your expectations, like you had just pointed out, like God-centered and a non-drinker, like whatever it is that person might be looking for? Is that because I know myself. For myself, I just got off my knee before I came here, and I don't see my marriage lasting much longer. I'm amazed it's lasted as long as it has. But my ideal man is not the guy that just walked out the door. Well, him leaving was ideal, but for the day. So I'm just I'd like to. If you could explain all the parts that you're, well, I don't even know what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm giving it back to you.
Let me try. Okay, so first with your brother and his relationship, ditch the word expectations. My expectations needs to be thrown out the window. Expectations lead to resentments. I like to find my ideals through God, and I try to live up to them. And once I live up to them, then God gives me permission to date. And the person I am dating, we are looking for these ideals. If both people do not live up to these ideals, your relationship is based on self. And it will turn out like all the previous relationships you've ever had. Expectations is not a good word to use. Expectations, trying to say it nicely. Okay, I can't think of it nicely, so I'm just going to stick to ideals. Expectations are going to bring you down a rabbit hole every time, right? And then you're going to be self-seeking, trying to manipulate the other person to fit your expectations. It's self-centered. God's ideals are a meditation we do to find our ideals, but we have to bring the same thing to the table as the other person.
Okay.
Right? Like me, I am not super creative and I'm not super funny and artistic, but I can date someone that's super funny and artistic and creative as long as they have these, right? Like yin and yang. It doesn't have to be my carbon copy. Like, I'm not saying I have to date a carbon copy of me. The other person brings a lot of different things to the table, but these are the things that are paramount.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one that I always get challenged on is the one who is challenge driven and motivated and is not intimidated by me. That's my problem. Yeah. All right. And so I will say, for someone who is in a relationship, so if you come into Alcoholics Anonymous and you are in a relationship, you still need to do this. And I say that because we run into this loyalty issue with people that come into a relationship, into Alcoholics Anonymous, where they say, the person I came in here with, I've done a lot of damage to them. I owe it to them to stay with them. But that doesn't mean you're meant to be there. The choices we make in a partner when we're in our active alcoholism are choices we make based on self. So we need to take a deeper dive when we're in a relationship at our ideals and get really honest about the relationship we're currently in. And that's really hard, and it really is painful, because a lot of the times we realize we are not in the right spot, because the person we chose to be with while we were in our active alcoholism is not the person that's going to grow with us in our recovery. And I say that because I've seen people stay in places they weren't meant to be, and they were miserable out of loyalty. So this is something that ideal relationship, look at it with God and know that we are growing to be best for God. God's got a vision for us. He's got a plan for us, and it's a beautiful plan. He doesn't want us to be alone. He wants us to find love. But we're selling ourselves short if we stay somewhere that we're not meant to be. And I say that with all the love, and I know it breaks people's hearts, because there's probably people in this room that are in a long-term relationship, and it's so important, though, because you're going to be stuck. And guess what happens? You'll get a resentment. And guess what happens? You'll drink again. That's why I say it. Kelly D.
Hey, my name is Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Kim, for this. This is really good stuff. I came into the program, and I was engaged. I got married after 5 months of sobriety. I've been sober over 11 years now. My husband's sober over 10. It's so good that you said that, because, as far as our evolution goes with God and our children, and, the only thing that I could tell you that can sometimes cut into us can be our two boys, or the satellite family. They want to come in, and they're very sick and suffering. So we have to really work at trying to check in. It's almost and figure out what's going on here. What do we need? Less of or more, and I could tell you that Chapter 9 is really amazing. I don't know if you've ever heard of Chapter 9. It's a group where there's couples in recovery, and it's really been helpful for us. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody in. One of us needs to be in recovery in order to do that Chapter 9. And the other thing I wanted to ask you was you said Oxford group said it was a two-way prayer. So the two-way prayer is basically we pray for these ideals, and then we have to be a mirror image of the ideals. Is that what you meant by that? I just wanted to.
So no, not specifically that the Oxford group says this is a two-way prayer. The Oxford group has a tool called two-way prayer. And
a tool.
This,
okay.
Yeah, this is a good example of it. And if anyone's really a geek about stuff like that, go look into two-way prayer. It's really cool. It just helps a lot with prayer and meditation.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anne-Marie?
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie. I'm an alcoholic. If I understand this correctly, this can be applied to something as basic as friendships as well, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That would actually be a really good place to start if you're struggling with dating, is do a friendship ideals. What would be my ideal friend?
Yeah, well, I'm not struggling with dating.
You just don't do it.
I just don't do it. I haven't had sex in 36 years, so I really don't care. Or 33 years, so I really don't care about that part. But I do have struggles with friendships. I seem to attract the kind of person where the relationship goes bad real fast.
Yep, and usually it mirrors us, unfortunately, to say. And so, like, when we do this ideal meditation, even like friendship would be a really good one. It's what are my ideals for a friendship? And then we look and we go, am I that person?
Yeah.
And this is where we really are taking a peek see. And it can be like, oh, I got some work to do. Well, good thing God's here to guide us to these ideals.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, we got to remember that part too. It says, help, and we ask God to help us live up to them. This is not selfing self. Self doesn't do self. This is knowing what my ideals are and growing to them, and I'm going to tell you how to do it on the next page. Samantha, you were first.
Hey, Sam, alcoholic. Aside from just praying, how do you get to the conclusion of pulling the trigger on a relationship? Like, just for instance, I'm coming up on 5 years in a relationship, and now with sobriety, I'm really starting to realize I feel strongly that I'm with a person who has a lot of narcissistic traits, and I've been telling myself that now being sober, I can give this an honest try, and I also have given myself a year time frame to kind of see how we grow together. I have been procrastinating, honestly, on making this list because I'm a little fearful of what I'm going to see. But aside from just praying on it, how do you know when you should be in the relationship or not?
Well, that's really good because I just got a private message in the chat regarding the same thing. I'm not telling anyone to leave their marriage. I'm telling everyone to follow the advice in the big book and do the meditation on your ideal relationship through God. Then I'm saying to ask yourself honestly if your current relationship fits your God ideals. Because when you got into your relationship prior to recovery, you chose your person based on your ideals, not your God ideals. So this is a practice, and it is in the big book, and it's found on page 69, and it clearly says, we try to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We asked God to mold our ideals and help us live up to them. So we ask God for this guidance. We write down what God's ideals for us are. These are not our ideals. then we ask God to help us live up to them. And I'm just reminding you that that means if you are in a current relationship, you need to honestly ask yourself if this relationship meets these ideals. And if it does not, you need to look at that.
And
Right?
when nobody's perfect, obviously.
Yeah,
I guess
I know. I'm just
that's-
clarifying both answers. I'm not being super specific at you because someone asked me
yeah.
privately. Yeah.
And I guess that's where I struggle because, you hear it from a lot of women that, like, you kind of have to pick and choose your battles. And of course, nobody's perfect. So I guess that's where I'm struggling is, like, where do you cut bait? Like, if they fall into a lot of pros and they do have some cons, obviously, it's like, how do you know when to turn the page on? I guess, well, anyways, I'll talk to my sponsor about it,
Yeah,
obviously.
and I would say, like, when you write down your ideals through the God meditation, right? God-centered. Okay, is my partner God-centered? Yes or no? Am I God-centered? Yes or no? Service-based. Is this person service-based? Yes or no? And then we get down to the ones that, like, these ones for me are my cores, like supportive and understanding. I need someone that's not going to be threatened or intimidated by my service and the work I do for Alcoholics Anonymous and is going to support me 100% in that. Why? Because if they don't, it's going to stifle me. It's going to hold me back. I'm not going to grow. This is what keeps me alive. So I need a partner that understands that. Things like leaving your shoes at the front door or nitpicky stuff like that, that's not important to me. But these are my core God ideals. These are mandatory. And if they don't live up to these ideals, they don't fit the boat. If it gives me that feeling like, oh, I don't know, and I'm writing lists of pros and cons, you really need to do a meditation on your God ideals for a relationship. Because these are like the, what's it called? What's that word? These are like the no-brainers. Like they have to.
Deal breakers.
Deal breakers. Yeah, these are my deal breakers. Like faithful, loyal. I must feel safe. I must feel like I'm okay to be challenged, motivated, and ambitious. Because I know what happens if I'm with someone that's not. I stifle myself. I regress, and I don't grow. Yeah. Bethany. And I'm listening. I'm grabbing my coffee. Can you unmute? There you go.
Sorry. No, you're fine. So Kimberly, I think my question was maybe a little bit similar to the last one. For me, I'm still early in recovery, but I know the relationship I'm in is not my ideal. And I also know I myself am not living up to those ideals. So I guess my question is, how do you end that relationship? Is it okay to just stop talking to them? Do you need to kind of part ways amicably? I guess they maybe need some guidance on that.
Absolutely. And so there's a whole bunch of different situations. There's not one answer for everything, but my number one answer is we never ghost anyone. For those who are older, that means cutting off contact and disappearing. We don't ghost people. That causes harm. I had someone yesterday called me and said, I got to get away from this person. They're toxic. I'm going to ghost them. I said, nope. I said, we keep our side of the street clean. So we have a loving relationship, conversation where we release them with love. You know, I love you, however you want to put it. I love you, but I'm in this period of growth and this is not the relationship for me. I wish you all the best in life, blah, 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 but this needs to end. We face these things. We don't run from them. How it looks for every situation is different. If this person is toxic and abusive, please talk to your sponsor or call me and we can have a one-on-one. But we don't ghost people. We just kind of lovingly end it. Please do it in person or over the phone. Don't send a text message because these are people's feelings and we don't want to hurt people in our growth. What I will say as well as is if you're in a relationship and you're both in early recovery and you aren't sure, you can give them the opportunity to see how they grow because maybe you both grow. You don't know. Like I said, each individual case is different. But if one is in recovery and one's in active addiction, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work. But
Thanks,
yeah,
Kimberly.
absolutely. Linda.
I'm just curious, like that Bev, I've been alone ever since I had my daughter. It's like 30 years, and I think there's absolutely something wrong with me. I'm hoping that through you, or
Through God.
doing this process, God, that more, I'm going to understand why I don't, I'm not available to be in any relationship, not even friendships. This is going to help me to discover this, uncover it, and
Absolutely.
something.
If you do the meditation on your ideal friendship and your ideal relationship, then you grow with God through this program. And we're going to say how on the next page. And when you grow to this, then you'll be more open to letting people in, because right now you're shutting people out, and that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
But once you do the meditation and you sit and you ask God, what does my ideal friendship look like? What does my ideal relationship look like? And you write those ideals down, and then you start growing, because this is what we're doing, right? We're getting rid of our fears. Our fears have held us back. And now we're going to start growing by working with others. I'll give you a little spoiler alert. And then you'll find you just magically start to grow into your God ideals. And then people start coming into your life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I don't want to be alone. I want to be in the circle, with people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be involved. Yes.
Absolutely. So we're gonna talk about it more on the next page too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Shelly first, because Leslie already went this round.
Hi, Shelly, alcoholic. I'm going to try, I hope I can say this correctly, but so I've been married 28 years, or I've been with my husband 28 years. I've been sober for 11, and he's not in the program. And so he's not would not fit all those ideals, but what I found, and I don't know if this will help anybody, and I don't know how you would think about this, Kim, is that I pick other people in AA that have the spiritual life, and they feel that need, not a sexual need, obviously, that's not what I'm talking about, but just the needs that he doesn't fill. And so therefore I don't feel resentment towards him. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. If it's not causing you pain, and they fit 98% of your God ideals, and you're getting fulfilled everywhere and you're growing, it's fantastic. There's not a one size fits all around here. And my really good friend Alexis had the best thing. She's like, no one can tell you what your relationship is supposed to look like. This isn't a program of putting it in a box. There is no box here. There is no specific. There's not a cookie cutter for it. It's like you just roll out your dough, and whatever shape it is, that's the shape it's going to be. It's as long as that's not causing you harm, you're not causing someone else harm, and you're getting all of what you need. So absolutely, it's not a cookie cutter. Leslie.
Hi, Leslie again. Can you be addicted to all the negativity in a relationship and just going with the flow of living with an alcoholic, and is it possible to really get addicted to the abuse?
You're not addicted to it, but your addiction loves it, because your addiction loves having you in chaos.
So
that's your disease keeping you sick, in my opinion.
So and then sorry, like what the other lady said about having other friendships within your relationship that will meet your need. The other day I needed some wood cut, and I thought, well, I'm actually going to fire up that chainsaw. So I did, and our friend came over and saw me using the chainsaw. So he took it from me, and he cut almost my whole load of wood. husband comes out and he's right pissed off. He's drunk. He's giving me the finger, and then he's just, he's just an asshole. And so even if somebody does me something good, I still get shit on for it. So how's that factor into relationship building?
Well, this is the thing. We can't cause harm. So if I have a husband and he's inside and I'm outside cutting wood, and John Blow, farmer from down the street, wants to cut my wood, hey honey, it's so, as long as it's okay with you, Farmer Joe's gonna cut my wood. Otherwise, I'm harming my husband. Right? We can't cause harm. If my husband farmer is happy that I'm friends with Farmer Joe and is happy he helps out sometimes, it's fine. But there has to be transparency. And we can't be doing it for selfish needs. I can't be like, hey, Farmer Joe, you want to come over and cut my wood? Right? We have to not be doing it sexually and to get selfish things from it. Right? So this is where, because me, like my example, the trainer at the gym. I went to the gym at 6 a.m. every morning, right? A little flirty with the trainer at the gym. Why? Because lots of people cancel at 6 and he would give me free personal training. Do you think I ever told my partner? No. Was I causing harm? Yup. Both sides. So I'm flirting with the trainer, causing harm using my sex to manipulate him for free personal training, and I'm harming my partner by using my sex powers to get free training. That's disrespecting him. So we have to, really, it's a fine line. So we don't cause harm. So if everybody's like, yeah, it's great you're friends with Farmer Joe, I'm super happy he comes over and cuts the wood, that's great, then you're fine. But it doesn't sound like that.
He was drunk in the chair, so.
Yeah, well.
It needed to get done.
Yeah. Two harms don't make a right. Okay, Linda, one more, and then we gotta keep reading. You gotta unmute, love.
Were you talking to me?
Yeah, your hand is up. No?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't lower it.
Okay. All good. So let's carry on. Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends where we have done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm so in doing. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. God alone can judge our sex situation. Counsel with others is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking or advice. Suppose we fall short of the chosen ideal and stumble. Does this mean we are going to get drunk? Some people tell us so, but this is only a half-truth. It depends on us and our motives. If we are sorry for what we've done and have the honest desire to let God take us to better things, we believe we will be forgiven and will have learned our lesson. If we are not sorry and our conduct continues to harm others, we are quite sure to drink. We are not theorizing. These are facts out of our experience. So in that, it kind of sums up a lot of what our discussion was, and that it's whatever our ideals turn out to be, we must be willing to grow toward them. We ask God what we should do about each specific matter, and counsel with others is often desirable. So this is exactly what we were just discussing, right? We ask God for our ideals. We ask God if we're stuck. If we have that feeling of, that's usually a really good indication that something isn't right in that situation and we need to dive further. And you know, I've discussed it before. God is the only one that can judge our sex situation. No one can say what my relationship is meant to look like as long as it's not causing harm. You know, I am a single girl. I'm 42 years old. If I want to date two people, I am allowed to date two people so long as both people know I'm dating both people. I have an example. It's called my elevator story, and it's true. So I was dating a guy that lived in my building, and I was also casually dating another guy. So I had to ask myself, if I get into the elevator with guy number 2, and guy that lives in my building gets in the elevator too, am I going to have some explaining to do? Or am I going to feel uncomfortable? If I can say I'm going to be okay in either scenario, then I'm pretty much on the right track. I've let guy number 1 know that I'm seeing other people. I've let guy number 2 know that I'm seeing other people. I'm not causing harm. But if I'm dating a guy in my building and I'm sneaking guy number 2 up the back staircase because I don't want to run into guy number 1 in the elevator, I'm causing harm. So we just have to remember that we cannot cause harm and we need to lead with honesty and try to grow to our God ideals. Does God ideally want me dating 2 guys? Probably not. So that was 2 years ago. But you know, he's the only one that can judge. Counsel with others is good, but at the end of the day, sit in prayer and meditation and ask God. Marianne, Toronto.
Hi friends, I am an alcoholic from Toronto. My name's Marianne. Grateful to be here, grateful to be sober. Nice to see you all today. I know I have to get counsel a lot with this subject, with my trusted sponsor actually, because sometimes I get a little crazy in my thinking. And if you're dealing with people that maybe aren't as healthy, then it gets too crazy for me. So I know I've had situations where I've had to go to my sponsor and say, really, and I was upset going, did I do something wrong here? Because sometimes I don't even know if it's me. And especially, you know, just getting new at this, you know, because you hear check your motives and everything else. And so I can get with God, but sometimes I need a voice to say, you know, we're not doormats. And just the validation of, okay, you know, sometimes I need to hear God a little louder than just in my soul. Thanks.
Absolutely. And there's lots of moving pieces to dating in sobriety because fears crop up. And sometimes you don't even think fears crop up. And then old fears are gone and new fears crop up. That's fun, right? My old fears of abandonment, my old fears of not being loved, then they got replaced with fears of losing my independence, fears of being tied down to someone and losing my freedom. Who would have thunk that would happen? Oh, Kim goes and gets some self-esteem and gets her life together. Now she doesn't need a man and she's scared to get a man in case she falls backwards. Oh, God, it's fun dealing with our brains. So it's always really good to have someone to bounce this off of. Myself, I have what I like to call step 10 buddies. They're people who are not, I say, above me in sobriety or below me in sobriety. They're just peers in sobriety. So some of the ladies in this group, I would consider some of my sobriety peers. And I would say bounce, like, you know, call up Jenny D and be like, oh, Jenny, you know, I'm da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Where we have a friendship, but we've got a base in sobriety that we can bounce ideas off. So I don't have to go to my sponsor necessarily, but I know Jenny's wise and lovely to talk to on the phone. So if I needed to, I could call and have that kind of discussion with her. And that's really, really handy to have because my brain, it's not going to work on its own, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Kelly D.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. Okay, so Boy, this is kind of tricky. I've sponsored a lot of women. Now, I personally, I came into the program, I was engaged, I got married 5 months after. Like, I wouldn't recommend that, but that's what I did, and it worked out, and we're happy, and it's good, and we have a good marriage. It's not perfect, but it's good. It's a good marriage. But when I sponsor people, I came to this, I moved like 3 years ago, and I went to this new group, and there was a sponsee there, and I started to help her. And AA is not a hotbed of mental health. Like, and she wanted to date, and she was dating, and I had to just give her, the program the way it was given to me, and like you said, motives and all that good stuff. So it's tricky, like even in like rehab, they're like, get a plant, get an animal or something, and then get a date. It's like, focus on yourself the first year at least. And, everybody's different. Everybody has their own stuff. They either come into the rooms with a relationship, or they meet somebody in the program and they get into relationships. I've seen so many people hook up in AA. I'm sure all of you have. So it happens. Experience is the excuse for everyone's mistakes. But anyway, I just wanted to share that AA is not a hotbed of mental health, and a lot of people think it is.
No, and we're going to move into the how and why of it, and how that this thinking changed in me in this next paragraph, which I love it. I love it so much. To sum up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity and for the strength to do the right thing. If sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves the harder into helping others. We think of their needs and work for them. This takes us out of ourselves. It quiets the imperious urge when to yield would mean heartache. Now, my spiritual advisor, Joseph Keats, is amazing. And when I was dating in between my second and third year of sobriety, and I was hell-bent on getting me a man because, I am doing good. I'm sober. I did my steps. I'm sponsoring. I'm ready to date. What I hadn't done was this ideals meditation. And what I hadn't done was worked with others enough to grow into these ideals. And every time I would call Joseph Keats and say something about my dating life, he would say the exact same thing. And I hated it. And it was this: Kimberly, to calm the imperious urge, work with others when to yield would mean heartache. And I was like, what the frig does that mean? Stop saying that to me. Ugh. And then he would hang up. Like, that would literally be all he said. And I'm not shitting you. He said that to me 1,000 times. 1,000 times. And what happened? I stopped dating. And I started sponsoring a shit ton of women. I started a step group in my house, reading this big book to 8 women every 4 months. And what happened? I grew to meet my ideals. So to calm the imperious urge, working with others will save the day when to ignore it would mean heartache. So had I just ignored it and said, I don't got time to work with others, I got to go on a date with Johnny, Joe, Justin, and Michael down the street, I would have kept getting my heart broken. So what I did was I stopped dating. I worked with a ton of people, and I grew into these ideals. And I went, huh. And you know what else happened? I stopped even thinking about guys. Like, I would have a moment where I was like, ooh, I should go on Tinder or Bumble, and I'd get on there for 2 hours and I'd be repulsed, and I would delete the app and continue working with others because I was so turned off at the prospect of dating. And that was like a miraculous change of thinking. And now I'm in this place where I am meeting my ideals. I am working at my recovery, my kids, my business, my friendships, and my sponsees. And dating is just a thought at the back of my mind where if I ran into someone that was cute and asked me to go for coffee, I could say yes and find out if he meets these ideals. I'm not on a mission to date anymore. and wowers, I had that relationship that just passed, and I was able to lovingly go through it and lovingly get a really good friendship as a result, and be able to walk away and not be a puddle of tears on the floor for the 2 weeks afterwards. Why? Because it didn't meet my God ideals and I was okay by myself. That's amazing. Because the old me would be losing my shit for a month after, right? So this works. And I have that paragraph highlighted because that's the key to dating. In that paragraph, to sum up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. If sex is troublesome, don't date. We throw ourselves harder into helping others. We think of their needs and work for them. It takes us out of ourselves. It quiets the imperious urge when to yield would mean heartache. I no longer have that imperious urge that drives me to try to date just because I need to date. I've got peace in that area of my life for the first time in 42 years. Amazing. So that works. Anybody want to chat on that part? We're almost done this chapter. Nope. Yep. Hi, Jan.
I'm Jan. I just want to briefly tell part of my story. I was divorced, and I did decide through the program, actually a different program, Al-Anon, that I wouldn't date anyway, it was 10 years that I went without dating. And I talked to my sister, who's a very wise psychologist, and finally I said, I think I'm ready to date. And she said, well, and I was 42. So she said, well, probably the best thing is to find a man, because I said, there were opportunities to date, but nothing really lived up to my ideals. So that's part of it too. So she said, well, find someone who's had a successful marriage and maybe his wife died of cancer or something, so that you know that he has the experience of being successful in a relationship. Because I had a hard time figuring out who was that person on my own. So anyway, I said, okay, I hung up the phone. I got on my knees and I said, God, please show me someone who has experience, a successful experience in a marriage. And as I was on my knees, the phone rang. And my best friend from growing up called me, and she said, my husband and I have somebody we want you to meet. His wife died a year ago of cancer. He's a physician, and we showed him your picture, and he would really like to meet you. Oh. Now, is that the higher power? I mean, it was minutes from letting go and giving it to God that I got the phone call. And anyway, end of the story is we've been married 30 years.
Oh, that's cool.
So cool.
30 years. So just wanted to share that.
That's so cool. Thank you, Jan. Yeah, and I mean, for those who say we're not supposed to date in our first year of recovery, you could actually amend that statement to say we're not meant to date till we've gotten to page 70 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and have done our God ideals and grown and are living to them. But that's going to take a lot longer than a year, and I don't think anybody's going to accept that terminology. But I mean, that's what you could say. I don't recommend dating till at least you get to page 70 and have done your God ideals and are working with enough others to grow to that state. Jenny D. Oh, you mean, sorry.
Well, I know, we always do that. Thanks, Kim. Hi, everybody. Jan, what a beautiful story. Oh, that's so beautiful. My story's the opposite. But my husband died just over 3 years ago, and he had been really sick for years. So I haven't had sex for a long time. And I didn't have a sex drive. I just thought, oh, good, God took this away so I could look after Ron, right? Without, because he was sick. So I just thought it was lovely. And then he died and it never came back. And I've been alone for 3 years, very happy, not looking to date. I know there's some of my friends on here are laughing because they know they go, oh, you'll date again. And I said, no, I don't think so. I'm good. I'm happy without man. I've got my friends. I've got my animals. I'm happy. So I'm not looking for anything. And one day I meet this handsome little jerk on a Zoom meeting. And boing, it sprung back into life. And we became friends. And I was I'm still crazy about this guy, but I wanted this guy to be my boyfriend. And I had my list, my ideals. And this guy checked, he's in program, everything, checked every box. But he was not getting physical with me in any way. He would drive 5 hours to come up here to where I live and stay with me for like 3 or 4 days. That we'd have the best time. And I'd sleep in this room and he'd sleep in this room. It was like my brother coming to visit. And we did that 3 or 4 times. And I kept going, God, come on, what's going on? This is the one, God. He checks all my boxes, except one of my boxes is lamp crashing sex. And that wasn't happening. I know I'm 70, but boy, when it springs back to life, it springs back to life. So anyway, wasn't happening. And the night before I took my cake last month, I stayed with him. He was up here in town for something else. And he says, do you want to stay at my motel tonight? And I'm like, thank you, God, this is it. And I go there. He's got 2 beds. We're in separate beds. Lights go out. We're talking in the pitch black. And it came up. And we had a really good conversation. And he said, you know what? I love you so much. But you and me, no, it's not going to happen. And I was disappointed. You know what I said to him? I said, well, I think you're a damn fool, but whatever. And I went home the next morning. It wasn't the walk of shame going home because, and I realized, you know what? This ain't the one, because the one would want me as much as I want him. This isn't the one. And I let it go. I felt rejection, but only for a very short time. And then I realized, I always know if God's got something better for me. And I'll tell you something, me and this guy, we still talk on the phone 2 or 3 times a week. He's probably one of my best friends right now. I love this guy, but he's not the one. And it was only because of this list and because of my contact with God that I'm not moaning and groaning and trying to manipulate him into come and like me. God, what's wrong? So thank God for this program. And I gotta say, it was an exciting summer.
See, Jenny and I had parallel experiences with funny little men, and they're friends. It was like parallel summers for Jenny and I. Oh, Jenny, I love you so much. Marla, are you there? You just got on mute, love.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I love that story. That is so great. Thanks for sharing it. One of the things that I had to come up with or think about as on the road to being an ideal relationship is, what is dating? And I was into this magic, get drunk, find somebody, have sex with them, and expect like it to turn into a 30-year relationship or something. So what I learned, and I love that you were saying is, you had the courage to actually say something to the person, but you kept evaluating, like, does this person like this? Does this person like that? Can I talk to them or whatever? And I think that's something that is still tricky sometimes, because it seems to be one of the ideals, not in the fellowship. Just like if you watch TV, people have this very superficial kind of relationship, and so finding people that you can mirror that have good friendships, or how do you have a good friendship with a man before it becomes sexual, or you find out that they're not your ideal? But I don't know if this is making any sense, but it's more than just like a thought that pops into my head. And when it was funny, as a result of what we talked about on Wednesday, I've been thinking of all of my old like relationships, quote unquote, and I realized that they were these like very superficial, and maybe there was sex, but it was like once I got into AA, I couldn't keep running those kind of relationships, and it's kind of like all of them I'm at peace with now, thank goodness, and but anyway, so that's all I just wanted to say. I really have loved what you've been talking about, Kim, but it is kind of painful to have to look myself in the mirror and say, yeah, that's you, Marla. now, but now we're going to do something different. So at least I have a roadmap to change. Thanks.
Absolutely. And it does. It sucks to realize that we're not perfect and that we were messing it up all of this time. But the good thing is we get this new amazing opportunity to have new amazing experiences. And like Jenny was sharing, the beauty of it is when it doesn't work out, the recovery time is so short. There's not all of those fears that were attached to it. Because what I've done in the past is I went into relationships based on fears, right? And now I'm going into relationships with a clean slate, with just this list of ideals, with a person who has grown to those ideals. So I'm not picking someone to fill something. So when it doesn't work out, I'm not left with this gaping hole of guilt, shame, rejection, pain. I'm able to say, it didn't meet my ideals, but I had a wonderful time with that person, and I love and respect them, and we can go our separate ways. And 9 times out of 10, I remain friends, even with the ones I don't want to remain friends with.
One more thing, can I say?
Yeah.
The other thing that I really got from what we talked about on Wednesday, but this is so true, is higher power takes people like out of our lives. They have a different task or different journey that they're following, and takes and puts in different people in our lives. So I liked what you were saying just now, Kim. It's like I don't have to let it go with claw marks. I can just say, okay, for today, this is not going to be my true love, but I can be friends with them or whatever. But also realize other people have journeys too, just like me. And let's see where we end up. So anyways, thanks.
Absolutely. And I like to take the mindset, because I'm all about mindset. I like to think of it as God's given me a glimpse, right? He's given me that little glimpse of someone that has almost all my ideals. And it's up to me to see that they don't have all of them, and that there is more. So it's kind of like God giving me that little glimpse to keep me strong in my faith, that there is potential out there. And I absolutely love it. I'm like, okay, God, what a good little look at what is possible. I'm willing to hang in here. I don't need to go on Tinder and find another ding dong, right? All right, let's finish off this chapter so we can get into step 5. If we have been thorough about our personal inventory, we have written down a lot. We have listed and analyzed our resentments. We have begun to comprehend their futility and fatality. We have commenced to see their terrible destructiveness. We have begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill toward all men, even our enemies, for we look on them as sick people. We have listed the people we have hurt by our conduct and are willing to straighten out the past if we can. In this book, you read again and again that faith did for us what we could not do for ourselves. We hope you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from Him. If you have already made a decision and an inventory of your grosser handicaps, you have made a good beginning. That being so, you have swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself. These are probably the 2 of the most beautiful paragraphs about step 4, and it sums it up so gorgeously, where it tells us, we have written down a lot, and we've listed out our resentments, and now we're seeing how these things haven't served us, right? We've had that shift in mindset where we can see how that fear has caused those actions and the fault and the blame and how that's harmed us. And we're able to look at it from another light and understand their terrible destructiveness to ourselves and to other people. And now we're turning to say, hope you're convinced that God can help remove any self-will that's blocked you off from him. So what is this self-will? Well, these are our resentments, our fears, our conducts, and our harms. That's our self-will. And what has it done? It's kept us out of that sunlight of the Spirit. So it says, if you've already made this decision, and we made that decision in step 3, where we're going to turn our life and will over to God and to continue this work, and you've done this inventory, look at us. We made a good beginning. We're on our way. But that being said, we've swallowed a lot and digested a lot of truth. And that can sometimes be painful. But look at us. We're almost at the top of the mountain. So something good must be on the next page. And that is going to be step 5, which we will start talking about next time, which is Wednesday. So what's going to happen is Wednesday we're going to talk about step 5 and set it up. And then we're going to give you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get your step 5 done. So you might want to start planning that now to use that time. So we're going to talk about step 5 on Wednesday, and then you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get your step 5s done. That's 4 days. You should be able to schedule it. If you need a step 5 listener, it does not have to be your sponsor. If you don't have a sponsor and you're just following along at home, that's okay. Reach out to somebody either in the chat or however you need. That's what the Facebook group is really great for. You can ask someone to be your step 5 listener. So that might be a new term for some of you. That's not your sponsor. That's not anything special or fancy. That is simply someone who is there to play the role of your step 5 listener. And then you don't ever have to talk to them again. You don't even have to take your camera off if you want. They are just there to listen to your 5 and let you transition into that sunlight of the Spirit. That's how we do it up here sometimes, is we'll just put names in a hat of people who are willing to be step 5 listeners, and we allow God to choose it through our hands, and we just assign step 5 readers, and I've had amazing, beautiful results from that. So if anyone is needing a step 5 listener, we've got a bunch of ladies that are willing to do it, or contact your sponsor or your spiritual clergy person, whomever you prefer, and we'll discuss that next time if you're not sure how to pick somebody. All right, let's close with the Serenity Prayer.